Welcome to episode 13 of the Powerhouse podcast, where we bring to you the powerhouses in the mitochondrial world. I'm your host, Brian Harman. I've given my co-host, Dr. Yeski, the episode off today as he's busy with the launch of our new MitoShare patient registry. For our patients and caregivers tuning in, be sure to check out umdf.org to learn more about this important resource for you in the mito community. A really important resource for our community as we continue to chart a course towards treatments and cures, and some nice tools for our patient community to take advantage of through the MitoShare patient registry. And of course, umdf.org is your place, your resource for everything happening in the mito world. You can find information on current clinical trials. Our genetic testing program is off to a really fantastic run right now. A handful of genetic tests are still available. So again, for patients who are on that diagnostic journey, visit umdf.org to learn more about the genetic testing program that we're offering right now and our mitochondrial medicine symposium. You can find more information on that on umdf.org. Coming to us here June 8th through the 11th in Phoenix, Arizona. This is where we bring together patients, families, researchers, clinicians to learn more about mitochondrial disease, to share updates on research, provide resources for patient families. You're going to want to make sure you check that out. And I'm delighted today to bring back a very special guest for the podcast today. Our very first guest on the podcast when we kick this off, joining us back for lucky episode number 13, is Mr. Brandon Leach. Brandon, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be back.
Well, I promised you at our very first episode that I wanted to come back 1 year later and catch up with you and all the great things that are happening. And for our listeners who may have not got a chance to catch that very first episode of the Powerhouse, Brandon is a mito champion of ours, someone that just has always really impressed me in terms of the spirit that he brings to advocacy and helping us advance our mission. Brandon, I was hoping you could just give our listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your mito journey and just kind of what makes Brandon Leach tick.
Sure, yeah. So, I've suffered from mitochondrial disease my entire life, and I would say uh, the symptoms I've had when I was younger, I used to suffer from life-threatening reflux. Thankfully, I was able to get, for the most part, past that at a young age, and uh, shortly after that, my symptoms moved to being a lot of nausea, stomach pain, chronic nausea and stomach pain, um, vomiting attacks, pain attacks, really horrible immune system, and many, many other things. So obviously, I've been dealing with quite the medley of issues through my life, and I know a big part of my mindset used to be that I feel pretty darn bad. I will wait a bit, and wait for the doctors to save me and come up with this like cure or just some sort of magic pill. And then I would go out and enjoy my life and have fun and really start living. And finally, first day of high school when I walked through the doors and saw so many different kids just having fun, talking with one another, I realized that was something I wanted to get for myself. And I really had an epiphany that if I wait my entire life, if I wait for the doctors to save me, I'll be waiting my entire life, and I need to save myself. And by junior year of high school is where I really started to finally live differently.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful to be in this position now. And while certainly it's not like my disease disappeared, I'm able to do so much now and really truly live. Um, and in all honesty, I think this is the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
And no, I'm definitely super happy and really to be where I am now.
You can feel that infinite positivity coming from you. And I think it's really cool that you had that moment, you had that epiphany as you described it. Talk to me a little bit about the like how you got your mind there. Like what kind of support did you have to to get you to a point where you realize like I'm going to take care of this myself in terms of bringing a positive attitude?
I mean, for me, it really was observing this kind of like happiness in a lot of other people. And
Mm,
something that the way it used to be for me is when I was a lot younger and a younger kid, I was still a super happy person, despite everything that was going on with me. And I realized kind of recently that I was so happy because I really saw this as just such a normal part of life,
yeah.
so that I I just thought everything was rather normal.
Right.
And I think probably around seventh or eighth grade is when I really started to realize how much I was missing out on. And I wasn't quite the happiest once I realized
Yeah.
that. And it really just took that first day of high school and just walking through those doors that I really realized that's exactly what I want for myself. And I realized that the only way I can get there is through really picking myself up myself and
Right.
not waiting for someone else to help me. But
Hmm.
with that said, I definitely had so much help from my family along the way, and same thing for some of my really great friends. So I certainly didn't do it alone,
Yeah.
um, but I didn't do it with a medicine either. And I certainly would be overjoyed if we are able to get to
Sure.
that
Absolutely. We
medicine.
would too.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an extent where we can't sit around waiting for it, and we have to really do what we can to live the fullest life possible without it. And but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be hoping for one either, for a
Yeah, I
cure
love
either.
this in the meantime strategy, right? And that it's sage advice that as I think about so many young adults in our universe in the mitochondrial disease community that find themselves in similar situations. I want to come back to that in a little bit about just some of your advice for young adults navigating the disease. And I'm hearing your number one point here first is you're bringing that spirit of positivity to your day and acknowledging that's not easy, right? You had to build yourself up for that and find the support to do that as well too. But it starts with you believing that that's a part of what's going to make your day better and ultimately what's going to make your life better. And I think that's something that's really important. So last time we talked, it's been over a year as our first guest, and we kicked off in January of last year. You were wrapping up your final semester of high school. We were talking about your upcoming plans to head to American University, and I want to catch up. I want to hear what you've been up to. I want to kind of walk me through, the first year.
So I've definitely been just elated being here. Academically, I've really enjoyed my classes. I'm doing international relations, and I've been taking some Arabic, which I actually
Hmm.
really, really love the language. And I've been really enjoying that. I mean, academically, I really don't have any complaints. And neither do I socially.
Right.
I consider myself so lucky because I've really met some truly, truly amazing people that I think I'm rather lucky to call my friends.
Fantastic.
And so, I've every day of mine consists of three things: working,
Hmm.
socializing, and sleeping.
Right.
And I don't think I uh, have at maximum an hour outside of those three activities um, that I'm not doing any of them. And so I genuinely am just super happy. And to say that I'm everything is perfect is definitely not the case.
Right.
Like I was saying before, it's not exactly like my disease just disappeared. I'm not thriving because of its absence, but instead I'm thriving despite it.
Hmm.
And I do struggle with it daily. And every day I'm able to, continue keeping up with work and continue doing everything it is that I want to do is really just one a really successful day for
Yeah.
me. And I know last semester I did have like this kind of 2 week period where I had some of my really horrible stomach pain attacks like
Mm.
every day for
Yeah.
hours. And I did fall quite behind in my work then. But thankfully, a lot of my professors were extremely understanding and helped me to catch up. And I definitely did that. I ended up doing like 12 to 14-hour work days for like 2 weeks straight.
Oh,
But I did
jeez.
get to where I wanted to
Yeah.
be when I was caught back up, and then I was back to socializing a whole lot more. And really having that group of people who I know will always back me up,
Yeah.
and I know I will always back up, is definitely been one of the greatest parts of college in my mind.
Right.
And I know now, even looking ahead, I'm super excited. I know I have a few different like internship opportunities for this summer, which I'm crossing
Fantastic.
my fingers I'll be able to do. And no, I mean, genuinely, I can't think of something to complain about when
Yeah,
it
that's
comes to
great.
college. Like I'm
And I
just
think
super
it's great.
happy. Yeah,
You're focusing on, it's the complete college experience, right? Working, doing your schoolwork, socializing, and
yeah.
sleeping. Like that describes the college experience there. Is there anything that you've learned this past year in terms of managing your mito disease in this new environment? Is there anything that has changed on that front for you, or that you've had to kind of retool?
I mean, it's definitely for me a new experience of living completely on my own,
Right.
especially with my disease. And I found just because it's something I've been grappling with for 19 years now, I've
Hmm.
gotten pretty good at handling it. And I would really just say it's you got to listen to your gut, and in my case, quite literally, when it hurts. I know
Right.
I probably shouldn't be you know going out to some sort of party if it's like really bad or something like
Right.
that. And so no, I think a big piece of it is listen to your gut or wherever the heck you have your
Hmm.
symptoms. Um, and just staying, I guess, I know this sounds kind of cliche, but staying true to yourself and really knowing what it is that you want and just sticking to it, and
Yeah.
like everything else will, I've found, kind of follow. And no, I mean, I think the big thing is it's definitely uh, pretty easy, and I think a good thing to come into college with like kind of some very like idealistic ideas to
Right.
a very large extent. But as idealistic as I was coming into college about like, managing my symptoms on top of everything else, it's not exactly lived exactly up to that ideal. But that's because it was just that, and very idealistic. And you know, I guess to come kind of a little sobered to the idea that it's not going away.
Right.
But
Right.
the really, I think the biggest challenge that I had was just learning to manage like my time wisely on top of dealing with my symptoms, because
Yeah.
already I have pretty bad time management
Mm.
skills. But on top of throwing in like a pain attack every
Yeah.
once in a while or what have you, makes it a little more difficult.
Well, I was going to say that you think about this college experience in general, it's already intense, right? It already pushes us to be thinking about our time management and how we balance the social aspect with our schoolwork and everything else, and our the anxiety around, hey, in 3 4 years I'm going to be out of here and I'm hitting the workforce. That's already intense. And to add on managing mito on top of that certainly requires. To use your pun, it requires a lot of guts, right? I mean, it requires a certain level of courage and bravery to navigate that. But it sounds like you're doing really well on that front. So international relations. When we talked last year, you had your mindset of that. You've gone through a semester of that now, and still feeling good about that area of study. Talk to us a little bit about, again, for the listeners who may not heard the first podcast, like where you see your future right now on that front.
So yeah, no, I am definitely staying true to what I thought I wanted to do. I think
Mm-hmm.
definitely a very important thing with when you're coming in as a college freshman, especially, what is to come in with that open mind of you know maybe you think you know what you want to do, but you
Right.
want to make sure that you're right. And so that is what I've been doing, and I've figured out that international relations, Arabic, it's all stuff that I truly love, and
Mm.
it is where I do want to go with my life. And I know within uh, the way American University does international relations is you choose like a focus area, and then you choose like a regional focus area.
Mm-hmm.
So coupled with Arabic, I'm like focusing on the Middle East, and
Mm.
I am I'm likely to do the international security focus.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
I know that like my whole goal for after college is to serve the country in one way or another. And while I'm not 100% positive on what way that'll be quite yet, I've
Right.
definitely got some time to figure that out. But I do believe it to be within that general field.
Well, I have in my pre-show notes to make sure I wanted to hit with you. I just have a note here that I wrote down: making a difference in the world. Because the first time we've talked, the times I've gotten to connect with you, Brandon, it's a common theme that's threaded every single time we talk. It's I know it's so important to you, and you're also not short on balancing projects and ideas and big vision, and ultimately having a very global approach to that. And I wanted to catch up on that a little bit too, because I know it's something that you always got those wheels spinning in your head. So talk to me a little about you making a difference in the world and kind of where you have your eyes set right now.
Well, there's definitely one project which I'm looking at doing, which would be I guess to avoid spending 15 minutes talking about it because I don't know how to give a short
You
answer,
understand? Go ahead.
a short answer to what this project is. I'll just, I guess, give a slightly vague answer, which I do apologize in advance about. But basically, it would be tackling a lot of the like misinformation and perhaps like uh, anti-Semitism when it
Mm,
comes to like Israel, for example, on
mm-hmm.
the college campus, because and really just trying to teach um, where that like fine line is like between making a criticism of Israel, which is of course, completely okay, and then
Mm,
how far where it gets towards like anti-Semitism,
mm,
because unfortunately something I've noticed since I've been here, one of the less happy experiences on campus is it does very often
yeah.
get just to the point of like anti-Semitism. And
Mm,
so it's more, but sometimes it's not even meant to be anti-Semitism. So it just I guess really looking into that whole issue and doing a lot of research and figuring out different ways of, I guess, combating it. And I've certainly not figured out a lot of exactly what I'm going to do,
yeah.
but I do know I want to do something.
Generating dialogue, building
Yeah,
awareness, and what I've just learned from you too. You just seem to always be keeping your eyes open, right, for opportunities to make the world a better place. And I think it's really noble to be thinking that way. I think I was teasing about this when we first talked. We were talking about heading off to college, and I think I was lucky enough to not watch movies in a row and eating chips and drinking soda on the couch. And I'm sure you have fun with all that stuff as well too. But what you bring to the table in terms of a vision to do good is just something that's really impressive. And I think it's a great message to be able to share with our Mito community. That's what it takes, right? It's on the individual level too. We need more people thinking that way. And glad to know that you're doing that. Let me
yeah.
take you back a little bit here. We talked about kind of that preparation time of getting the mindset of going off and living on your own and a different environment, new work life social balance. What advice would you give? It's been a year since we've talked and you were preparing for this. What advice would you give to a young man, young woman who was in your shoes the way you were last year at this time?
I mean, I would say one certainly very big thing is not to let yourself like get too discouraged about if you know issues with maybe your disease
Mm,
and say college or some other very important thing in your life. And unfortunately there's going to be times where it does interfere with your pursuit of whatever that thing may be. um, However, those times don't last forever.
great.
And like whenever you're really in the depths of whatever challenge it is that is the worst for you, um, you just have to really keep remembering that there's light on the other side of the tunnel. And you may not be able to see it now. And I know
Mm,
quite a few years ago, I that light was very dim for me.
right.
But you know despite that, it's still there, and you'll find it, and you just have to kind of trust that it'll come, but also do more than trust and really, um, I guess, focus on getting to that good place and getting to
Mm,
that place and doing everything you can on your end to, be the best person you can be and really try and live as much as possible with your condition. and there's certainly going to be different places where it impairs you. I sure as heck know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's still possible to, I guess, enjoy your life despite whatever um, symptoms you may have from mitochondrial
Hmm.
disease. And what I will actually add is it's okay to be discouraged every once in a while, and that is certainly going to happen. But uh, I guess what I really do believe is just make sure not to like fall into the trap of spending more time thinking about the bad and like focusing on that than the good things that you can still do.
Yeah, what do you do to dig yourself out of that, right? Acknowledging that that happens. I kind of strike myself the same way. A guy, I probably say too often that I don't let myself get down and I don't get stressed out. My wife will tease
Yeah.
me. She's like, "You're never stressed. You always just seem to be very positive." But the reality is, I'm stressed just like anybody else. Might show it a little bit differently. I have darker days like anybody else. May show it a little bit differently, and I appreciate you acknowledging that. Talk to me a little about that. Like, what do you do to kind of get yourself out of a funk?
I mean, one thing I know I do is I continuously just tell myself over and over and over again that it does get better and that I'll
Yeah.
get back to where I was before or somewhere even better than I was before. And that I just, may not I'm having trouble seeing that at the moment, but I know it's
Hmm.
there. That's definitely a very major thing to focus on. But also, it's really okay to lean on other people
Mm.
and whoever you feel is like the closest to you, whether that be family, friends, or somebody else. Um, you know, f- find people that are willing to be there for you
Right.
and, take advantage of that every once in a while. Because I know, like, during that 2-week period, having like some of my friends who like wouldn't see me around as much just come knock on my door to see how I'm doing. That helps a lot. And
Right.
then like when I was doing my like 12-hour work days, having someone come and say, Brandon, I'm staring at you right now. You need to get off that computer. You're coming at, like
Yeah.
out with us.
Those
You've
thoughtful
been working too
check-ins.
long. Yeah, like those
Yes.
thoughtful things is truly really great. And um, I guess it's really finding those kinds of people. And
Yeah.
I like I said before, just feel so lucky that I was able to find those kinds of people. And uh, if you, I guess, don't feel as though you have that right now, like
Hmm.
I'll once again say that there's light on the other side of that tunnel, and
Right.
just keep keep pushing through, and not only will you get through whatever hard time it may be, but you'll also find some people to help you get through the next one.
Yeah, having that tribe is so important, for all of us. And stressful time of being in school and managing what you have to manage, to be able to have that support network is just so critical. If you're willing to share, talk to me about what you've learned about yourself in this first year at school.
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I've kind of come to the realization of is I know a big thing I talked about and always talk about whenever speaking in a manner like this or anything is how I spent so long waiting for my doctors to save me and eventually was able to um save myself.
Right.
And I've gotten in this past, I would say really beginning of the second semester in like January and February gotten in touch with, I guess, my kind of spirituality and been
Hmm.
able to really, and that I found has been really great for kind reflecting on myself and like um, how I act or where I place my feelings or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in getting in touch with that spirituality, I realized that this dependence that I had on like getting through things was um, a lot less on myself and more on other people in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And I kind of came to the same realization that, this is kind of the doctors all over again, where I'm putting a little too much more reliance on other people.
Yeah.
And I was able to build that self-reliance up even more. And like I realized I should say that I am very much self-reliant before this as well. But I did realize I could be a little more self-reliant,
Right.
and so I've definitely been even happier now that I'm able to find so much happiness not only from like my friends and my family who just do so much, and I feel lucky to have them. Um, but also to be able to find that within myself
Yes.
just makes it even better.
I
And
was just going to
so
say, you've got to be one of the most introspective young men I've come across. And I think about how to have that skill, right? It's a skill to be able to pause, take that breath, and kind of get inside your own mind there, and realize what you can control, what you can bring to the table, and to have that skill, early in your college days. Boy, there's even more important to have that to unleash, to do all this good that you want to do. So I want to ask you this. I want to come back a year from now, right? I'm going to make this a thing. If you're down with it, every year we come back and we talk, right? What do
definitely,
you think we're going to be talking about a year from now? We come back in 2023, early 2023. What should we be talking about at that time?
I'm sure I'll definitely be having a great summer experience, even though I right now have literally no idea what it's going to look like.
Yes.
But
I'm crossing my fingers on those internships for you too.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so I'm sure there'll be some of that. I'm sure I'll have a little more information on that project I um, briefly described that is currently very vague.
Yeah.
But I think it should be a little more precise, but a year from now. And I'm sure I'll have a whole lot more stories with some of these fantastic people I'm friends with.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so delighted that you're doing well. So much great work going on right now, Brandon. We're really proud of you, and thank you for just bringing a really positive message for me today, for our listeners, for the mito community, and beyond the mito community. Right? Like, we talk a lot about the diagnosis and the journey, and you living with mitochondrial disease, but you said it yourself. Despite all that, we're doing all this, right? You're doing all
Yeah.
this. And it's something that you should be really proud of, and we're glad that you're in our network to be able to bring a positive voice for this community and so many others that maybe find themselves in very similar situations right now.
Well, thank you so much for not only giving me a platform to share my story, but also really inviting me here to do it. I do really, really appreciate it.
Fantastic. We'll save the date. We're going to get back together at a minimum back in 2023, because I like this idea of continuing to catch up with you. And I'm so glad that you could join us today, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Once again, a special thanks to our guest, our very first podcast guest back in 2021, Brandon Leach. Join us again today for this wonderful recap to share all the great things that he's got going. And boy, what a positive message for our community. You can catch this podcast and all of our conversations with the heroes in the mitochondrial disease space by checking out our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe so you can get the updates on when the episodes drop. You can find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Again, special thanks to Brandon Leach for joining us today. And until next time, everyone, please go fast.